What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?
That is a donkey speaking. The man beating her is one of the most famous seers alive, on his way to a job he was paid handsomely to do. What he cannot see is the angel of God standing in the road ahead of him, sword drawn, ready to strike him down. His donkey can.
Once upon.
This is the true story of Balaam, a prophet for hire, summoned by a frightened king to lay a curse on the people of Israel. But every time Balaam opened his mouth to curse them, a blessing came out instead, because no one can curse what God has chosen to bless. He would hear God's own voice. He would see, centuries early, a king rising in the future. God gave this man more sight than almost anyone who ever lived. And it still would not be enough to save him. Stay with us until the end. This is the story of a man who saw everything God could show him and walked away anyway. And it asks a question worth sitting with. Has knowing God ever truly changed you? If you are new here, subscribe to ARC Films channel so you never miss a story. And if you want to go further, join the ARC crew. Your support helps us keep bringing the Word of God to people who have never heard it this way. Let's begin. On the plains of Moab, just east of the Jordan River and within sight of Jericho, a vast camp had appeared. It belonged to Israel, a nation that had spent 40 years in the wilderness and was now pressing toward the land God had promised them. They had not come to fight Moab. They were only passing near it. But there were so many of them that the ground seemed to vanish under their tents. The king of Moab, a man named Balak, son of Zippor, watched them and was sick with fear. He had seen what this people had just done to the Amorites, the kingdom next door, crushing them in battle. Now that same people was camped on his border, and Balak was certain his turn was coming. He gathered the leaders of Midian, a neighboring people, and put his terror into words.
This horde is going to lick up everything around us, as an ox licks up the grass of the field.
An army this size, Balak knew, he could never beat with soldiers. So he reached for a different kind of weapon. Far to the northeast, in a town called Peor, beside the great Euphrates River, lived a man whose name carried weight across the whole region. His name was Balaam, son of Peor, a seer people paid to bless and to curse, and whose words were said to come true. Balak sent messengers down the long road to find him, carrying a single request.
A people has come out of Egypt, and it covers the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I can defeat them and drive them out. For I know that those you bless are blessed, and those you curse are cursed.
The messengers reached Peor and came to Balaam's door, and they did not come empty-handed. In their bags they carried the fee for his services, the price of a curse, paid in advance. They laid Balak's request in front of him. Here was the strange thing about Balaam. He was a pagan seer, a man for hire in a land that served other gods, and yet he had a real line to the living God of Israel. He would not answer the king on his own.
Spend the night here, and I will report back to you with the answer the Lord gives me.
That night God came to him.
Who are these men with you?
Balaam told him everything: the king, fear, the money, the offer to curse the people camped beside Moab. God's reply left nothing to wonder about. There was no loophole in it.
Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people, because they are blessed.
And no room to argue. That was God's final word on it. In the morning, Balaam sent the officials away, but his exact words gave him away.
Go back to your own country, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you.
He never told them the real reason, that Israel was blessed and no curse on earth could touch it. He made it sound like a simple matter of permission and said nothing about the blessing at all. He left the door open just a crack. The officials carried his refusal home, and Balak was not a man who accepted no as an answer. So Balak sent a second delegation, larger than the first and made up of higher, more important men, to show Balaam how badly Moab wanted him. Their offer had grown too.
This is what Balak son of Zippor says. Do not let anything keep you from coming to me. I will reward you handsomely and do whatever you say.
Balaam's answer sounded like the reply of a man who could not be bought.
Even if Balak gave me all the silver and gold in his palace, I could not do anything great or small to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. Now spend the night here, so that I can find out what else the Lord will tell me.
It was a fine-sounding speech, and it hid the truth. He had already been given God's answer clearly the first time. A man who truly could not be bought would have sent these officials home like the last ones. Instead, Balaam kept them close and went hunting for a better answer than the one he already had. That night, God gave him a chilling kind of permission.
Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you.
It was not approval. It was God handing a stubborn man the road he insisted on walking. And Balaam heard only the first half, the yes. In the morning, he got up, saddled his donkey, and rode out with the officials of Moab. What Balaam did not know was that his going had made God angry. Ahead of him on the road, invisible to human eyes, the angel of the Lord took his stand with a sword drawn in his hand, ready to stop him. Balaam rode toward it on his donkey, his two servants beside him, seeing nothing. The donkey saw the angel first. She swerved off the road into a field, and Balaam beat her back onto the path. Farther on, the angel stood again where the road narrowed between two vineyard walls. The donkey pressed against the stone, crushing Balaam's foot, and he beat her a second time. Then the angel moved ahead to a place so narrow there was no room to turn at all. The donkey lay down flat under him. Furious now, Balaam struck her with his staff. And then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth.
What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?
You have made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now.
Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?
He was so blind with rage that he argued with his own animal as if this were an ordinary quarrel, and he admitted she had never once done this before. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and the seer finally saw what his donkey had seen all along. The angel stood in the road, the blade raised and waiting. Balaam dropped down, his face in the dirt.
Why have you beaten your donkey? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me. If it had not, I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it.
The sword Balaam had wished for was already drawn in the angel's hand. The man paid to see the unseen had been outseen by his own donkey.
I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back.
Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you.
Balak rode out to the edge of his kingdom to meet the seer he had waited so long for, and his first words were a complaint.
Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you?
Balaam warned him plainly before a single curse was ever spoken.
I have come to you now. But I can say whatever I please.
At dawn, Balak led him up to a ridge called Bamoth Baal, high enough to look down on the edge of Israel's vast camp. There, Balaam set his own plan in motion. He ordered 7 altars built, and on each one a bull and a ram were killed and burned. This was the seer's ritual, the tools of his trade, his way of bending heaven toward the answer a client had paid for. Then he went off alone to meet with God, leaving Balak standing beside the smoking altars. God gave him words, and Balaam carried them back down to the king and his waiting officials. But what came out of his mouth was not a curse.
How can I curse those whom God has not cursed? How can I denounce those whom the Lord has not denounced?
From the high rocks he looked out over a people too many to count, like grains of dust, a nation that lived apart from all the others. And then the man hired to wish them dead, wished something else entirely.
Let me die the death of the righteous, and may my final end be like theirs.
Balak could not believe what he was hearing.
What have you done to me? I brought you to curse my enemies, but you have done nothing but bless them.
Must I not speak what the Lord puts in my mouth?
Balak still believed the problem was the view. If Balaam could look at the people from a different angle, perhaps a different word would come. So he tried again.
Come with me to another place where you can see them, and from there, curse them for me.
He took Balaam to a new height, the field of Zophim on top of Pisgah, and the whole ritual began again. 7 fresh altars, a bull and a ram burning on each. Balaam went off to meet with God and came back with words he did not choose. This time, the blessing struck straight at Balak's whole plan.
God is not human, that he should lie, not a human being, that he should change his mind. I have received a command to bless. He has blessed, and I cannot change it.
There it was, the reason every hilltop would fail. A man can be flattered, worn down, or bought. God cannot. What he had decided about this, people would not move because a king walked the seer to a better view. And then Balaam said something that cut against his own trade.
There is no divination against Jacob. no evil omens against Israel.
Not one of the dark arts Balaam had spent his life mastering could touch these people. The very craft that had made his name was useless against them. Balak, hearing his whole plan collapse, tried to bargain the damage down.
Neither curse them at all, nor bless them at all.
If he could not get a curse, he wanted at least to stop the blessings. But Balaam gave him the same answer as before, and Balak had one place left to try.
Come, let me take you to another place. Perhaps it will please God to let you curse them for me from there.
The third hilltop was the top of Peor, looking out over the wasteland. The altars went up again, 7 of them, but this time something in Balaam changed. He had watched twice now as God turned his curses into blessings, and he stopped fighting it. He set aside his omens and his rituals and simply looked out at Israel encamped below, tribe by tribe, and the Spirit of God came over him. What poured out of him now was not a blessing dragged past his teeth. This time, it came freely.
How beautiful are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. Like gardens beside a river, like cedars beside the waters.
The blessing kept widening, and it ended by turning Balak's whole errand upside down.
May those who bless you be blessed, and those who curse you be cursed.
That was the end of Balak's patience. His anger boiled over, and he struck his hands together.
I summoned you to curse my enemies, but you have blessed them these 3 times. Now leave at once and go home. I said I would reward you handsomely, but the Lord has kept you from being rewarded.
There it was, the thing that would matter most before the story was over. Balaam had come all this way chasing a reward, and now he would leave without a coin of it.
Even if you gave me all the silver and gold in your palace, I could not do anything of my own accord, good or bad. I must say only what God says.
But Balaam was not finished. Before he left Moab, he turned back to Balak once more.
Come, let me warn you of what this people will do to your people in days to come.
Then the seer said something you would never expect to hear from a man like him. He described himself like this.
The prophecy of one whose eye sees clearly, who hears the words of God,
who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls prostrate, and whose eyes are opened.
And with that sight, he looked past his own lifetime, past Balak's, into a future centuries away. And he saw a king.
I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will rise out of Israel.
Out of the very camp Balak had hired him to curse, Balaam saw a ruler rising who would outlast the kingdoms all around. Nations the same vision watched crumble into ruin one by one, and who would one day overthrow Moab itself, the land of the very king standing in front of him. It was the strangest turn of all. God took a diviner for hire, a man riding home with empty pockets, and used his mouth to point across the centuries to the coming king. The 4 oracles were finished. Balak had called for a curse and been handed 4 blessings instead, and there was nothing left to do but send the seer home. It looked for all the world like the end of the matter. It was not. There was still one weapon Balaam had not used. He could not curse Israel from the outside, but he had not given up on his reward either. So he sold Balak the only thing that could still reach this people. Not a curse, a plan. His advice was simple and cruel. Balaam understood something about this nation that Balak had missed. They could not be cursed, but they could be corrupted. The God who guarded them against every enemy would turn against them himself the moment they broke faith with him. What no seer could do from a hilltop, Israel's own sin could do from the inside. And it worked. Camped at a place called Shittim, the men of Israel were drawn to the women of Moab, and through them invited to the altars of a local god, Baal of Peor. They ate at its feasts. They bowed at its shrines. The nation that no curse could touch bowed down willingly to a lifeless idol. Everything Balaam had promised came true, and the anger of the Lord burned against his own people. God's answer was severe. Moses turned to the judges of Israel and gave them the order.
Each of you must put to death those of your people who have yoked themselves to the Baal of Peor.
But a deadly plague had already broken out among the people, and it was tearing through the camp. Then, in full view of Moses and the whole weeping assembly, one Israelite man led a Midianite woman past them all and into his tent, flaunting his sin without a trace of shame. Phinehas, one of the priests, saw it. He took a spear in his hand, followed the man into the tent, and drove it through both of them at once. Only then did the plague stop. By the time it did, 24,000 Israelites lay dead. Balaam never lifted a hand against Israel. He only showed their enemies where the people were weak, and let their own sin do what his curses never could. The reckoning came for Midian, the people who had joined Moab to seduce Israel at Peor. God gave Moses a final command.
Take vengeance on the Midianites for the Israelites.
Israel sent 12,000 men to war, 1,000 from each tribe. They struck down the 5 kings of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba. And there among them was Balaam, still tangled up with the enemies of the people he had blessed. He had not stayed safely away after all. They killed him with the sword. It was the same weapon he had once cried out for on the road when he wanted to kill the donkey that was saving his life. Now that sword took his own. He had stood on a hilltop and asked to die the death of the righteous. Instead, he died among the wicked, for the reward he had never stopped chasing. Balaam is one of the most unsettling men who ever lived, and not because he failed to know God. He heard God speak and blessed at his command. He had everything a prophet could have. and none of it ever reached his heart. He knew God, and he sold himself for silver anyway. But one thing he had said would still come true. More than 1,000 years later, wise men came from the east, the same direction Balaam himself had once come from, and saw a star rise in the sky. They followed it across the world until it stopped over a small town called Bethlehem, over a newborn child. His name was Jesus, and he had been born King of the Jews. Foreigners crossed the whole world to kneel before him. Balaam had seen him first from far off, and never took a single step closer. Balaam had every gift a man could want, and he spent them all on himself. His story leaves us with a few truths worth carrying home. First, no one can curse what God has blessed. A terrified king spent a fortune trying to call down ruin on God's people, and every curse turned into a blessing in the prophet's own mouth. When you belong to God, you do not have to fear what others say against you or plot behind your back. What God has secured, no scheme can undo. Second, watch the compromise you are sure you would never make. Balaam could not be bought to curse Israel outright, and he was proud of it. So he found a quieter way to sell them out, one that kept his hands clean and still paid. Greed rarely knocks on the front door. It slips in the back, dressed as something reasonable, and the people most certain they cannot be bought are often the easiest to buy. Third, God can send you the truth through anyone, even the last voice you would expect. A trained seer rode blindly toward his own death, while the animal beneath him saw the danger clearly. God's warnings do not always come from the impressive or the powerful. Sometimes they come from someone far below you, or someone you have already decided to ignore. Stay humble enough to listen. Balaam was a seer for hire, a pagan, and even he was given a glimpse of a king who would one day rise out of Israel. But he was not the only one who saw him coming. Watch the story of Isaiah next, the prophet who stood before God on his throne and described the suffering of the cross 700 years before it happened. The same king that Balaam had glimpsed only from far off. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to bring more Bible stories like this one to the world. And if you would like to go further, join the Ark crew. Every member helps us keep these stories alive and bring the Word of God to people all over the world. That means the world to us. Tell us in the comments, what Bible story should we cover next?